If someone offends you and you confront them, because most of us don't have the courage to confront the person we're offended with. You can confront people without being confrontational. Covered wounds don't heal well. Covering it up will never make it better. You have to have the courage to speak up. And don't let anybody take your voice away. Don't let anybody out-talk you. Just because you out-talk me doesn't mean you changed my mind. Confront them. And if they repent, forgive them.
If you're sitting in here thinking that you're too old to listen to what Steve, hell, I'm 60. But I still rely on my imagination. See, if you think you're too old to make it, let me give you a prime example. Colonel Sanders has been frying chicken his whole life. He was telling everybody he had the best chicken in the world. Ain't nobody believe him. Colonel Sanders didn't get a franchise till he was in his 60s. Kentucky Fried Chicken sell more chicken than anybody in the world today. As long as God waking you up in the morning, that's the sign that he ain't through with you. So what you tripping for?
We all have discouraging thoughts telling us what we can't do, how we're not going to get well, we'll never meet the right person. Sometimes people speak negative words, say things that can limit our life. A friend of mine wanted to become a doctor, but he was told by his high school counselor that he wasn't smart enough. He didn't make good enough grades. He should try something else. If we let these negative comments play in our mind, they will keep us from becoming who we were created to be. No one can make you think something. You get to choose what you're going to dwell on. When those lies come, saying you're not attractive, you don't have a good personality, you're too old, you can dwell on it, let it poison you, or you can ignore it and not give it the time of day. In the scripture, David faced all kinds of opposition, people speaking defeat over him, thoughts saying that he'd never reach his destiny. How did he keep his mind filled with faith? He said in Psalm 38, "My enemies lay traps for me. They make plans to ruin me, but I am deaf to their threats. I choose to hear nothing at all." If you're going to reach your potential, you have to become deaf to the negative. When threats come, discouraging thoughts, people speaking defeat, you have to do like David and choose to hear nothing at all. Don't give it the time of day. Let it go in one ear and out the other. That's what my friend did in high school. 20 years later, this counselor, the same one that told him he wasn't smart enough, brought his mother to the doctor. He walked in and saw my friend. Said, "Don't I know you from somewhere?" My friend said, "Yes, I'm the student you said would never become a doctor." He treated his mother and billed him twice the normal amount. People don't determine your destiny. Don't let them talk you out of what God put in your heart. You have to become deaf to the naysayers, deaf to relatives that tell you you can't accomplish your dreams, deaf to co-workers that make demeaning remarks, say things to belittle you. The enemy will use people to try to keep you from your purpose. And they may be good people. They may love you, but they don't see what God put in you. They're judging from the outside. They don't realize what's on the inside. God put greatness in you. When David was out in the shepherd's fields as a teenager, he knew he was going to leave his mark, but the odds were against him. He didn't come from an influential family, wealth, connections, education. He was a shepherd, stuck out in the country by himself. But I can imagine at night, he would look up at the stars and he could hear God speaking to him, telling him that he was going to do something great, that he was destined to lead a nation. But when the prophet Samuel came to anoint one of his father's sons as the next king of Israel, his father, Jesse, thought, "It's not David. He's too young, too small. He's not talented enough." David felt the sting of his own father not believing in him. It's one thing when a friend discounts you, a coworker puts you down, but when your own family, someone that should be for you, they speak defeat, tell you how you're not that talented, you can't accomplish the dream, those words carry more weight. You have to dig down deep and say, I am not going to let what they're saying take root. They may be my family, but I'm not going to let their doubt convince me to settle for less than what God's put in me. Paul said in Romans, so what if they don't believe? Will their unbelief make your faith of no effect? And sometimes we're wanting people to believe in us that are never going to be for us. We long for their affirmation, for our family to cheer us on, a friend to encourage us, but it's just the opposite. You have to say like Paul, so what if they don't believe? They're not going to talk me out of believing. I love them, but I'm going to be deaf to their unbelief. These are tests we have to pass. You won't have everyone cheering you on. There will be doubters, naysayers, people that are close to you that don't think you can accomplish what God put in your heart. If they don't believe, you don't need them. They didn't put the dream in you. Be respectful, but be deaf to their unbelief. The quicker you get rid of it, the better you'll be. If you start thinking about it for a day, dwelling on it, maybe what they said is right. Maybe I will never get out of these shepherd's fields. Maybe I won't break this addiction. Maybe my business has seen its best days. Or maybe I should just learn to live with this sickness. No, what you should do is become deaf to the negative. You can't play defeat in your mind and have victory. You can't think sickness and have health. You can't dwell on thoughts of lack and have abundance. Samuel told Jesse that the king wasn't one of the 7 sons that were standing before him. These sons were all tall, impressive, strong, but God doesn't look on the outside. Don't be intimidated if you feel like you're lacking in some area. If you were only taller, had a better personality, came from a different family, if you were as smart as that coworker, no, you have everything you need to run your race. You've been fearfully and wonderfully made. When God created you, He matched you with your world. He put everything you need for your assignment. You're not lacking anything. You're the right size, the right nationality, the right age, the right personality. When people try to tell you otherwise, thoughts try to convince you that you're at a disadvantage, you were shortchanged. Look at you, David. You're too small. You're too young. You don't look like your brothers. That's a good time to become deaf. Tune all that out and tune in what God says about you. You're one of a kind. He says you're a masterpiece. You're made in the image of God. He's crowned you with favor. You have royal blood flowing through your veins. You're gifted. You're talented. You have everything you need to fulfill your destiny. As soon as Samuel saw David, he said, that's the one. He's the next king. God has already lined up people that can see your greatness. People that will speak destiny into you. People that will open doors you can't open. Use their influence to take you higher. But here's the key. Most of the time, first, you'll encounter the critics, the naysayers, family members who try to discourage you. If you're going to see Samuel, you have to become deaf to all the others. It's a test. If you start letting the negative play, you'll get discouraged, give up on dreams, live below your potential. Don't fall into that trap. Start tuning out all the lies people have spoken over you. Tune out those negative thoughts the enemy whispers in your mind, trying to diminish you, make you feel unattractive, not valuable, not worthy. The enemy works overtime in this area. He knows if he can keep you in a limited mindset, feeling less than, thinking you can't do something great, then he's won the battle. If David had believed what his father spoke over him, that he was too young, not talented enough, that he was just a shepherd, he would have gotten stuck out in those fields. David did what we all have to do. He tuned out the negative. He kept his mind filled with faith. Every thought said he was stuck. Family members putting him down. I can hear him out in the fields. Father, thank you that you being for me is more than the world being against me. I am strong in the Lord. I'm well able to fulfill my destiny. What you promised will come to pass.
They're winners, they're losers, and they're people who have not discovered how to win. All they need is some help and assistance, just a little support, or a different strategy, a plan of action to make some adjustments that will give them access to the unlimited power that they have within themselves. That's all that they need. Think about something you want for you, that's real for you. I can do that.
If you don't have $1 million of value out of day one, you can leave on that point. You can even take your notebook with you. Nobody leaves. I've been doing this. I help people grow their business 30 to 130% like clockwork. And I'm talking about businesses like a company called HomeX, the largest home builder in Mexico. They directly relate to us. $750 million of increase in the last 24 months. Or a chiropractor's got 2 members of his staff, an army of 2, and he's doubled his business in the last 9 years. That's what I do. My greatest skill. And how do I do that? It's like how I've built all these businesses, but it started with one understanding that I want you to have. And it's why I focus today on achievement and fulfillment, because if you look at any business and you want to know what the chokehold is on the business's growth, it's always the owner. It's always the leader, because the chokehold is in the form of your psychology and your skills. And I would say to you, jot it down, 80% of success in business is psychology and 20% is mechanics. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a big believer in strategies, because I know one strategy can save you a decade of pain. One strategy can make you $1 million. But if you have the strategy, how many have had lots of strategies in the past and then not followed through? Who's done this before? Say I. That's why your psychology is the most important part. So I'll give you the details at the end, but I want to plant the seed with you. If you want to grow your business, you've got to grow. There is no business that's going to grow dynamically and consistently and give you huge levels of financial and emotional and spiritual rewards without you growing. But you have to have a way to do it that's disciplined, that gives you both the psychological change, but also the skill change. Some people do have a great psychology, but they know how to make a great product or service, but they're terrible at marketing. And today, by the way, does the best product win in the world we live in today? Yes or no? No. Which product wins? The best marketed product wins. Now, long term, the best product and the best marketing wins. That would be in the past Apple. I say the past because they're slipping a bit, because they've stopped innovating at the same level they used to. But the bottom line is, if you have incredible product or service and you have incredible marketing, you're going to win. But we live in a world with shitty products. Who's ever seen someone's a product far inferior to your own product or service, and they're making more business than you are? Let me see your hands here. Say I. Today, is it easier to market or harder? Which one? Which one? It's easier and it's cheaper, but it's less effective. The reason is, 15 years ago, I don't know what the numbers are in Australia, but I know what they are in the UK, I know what they are in Germany, France, and the US, and it's identical numbers. About 15 years ago, it'll be 16 years ago now, they did the study, and they found that it took on average 4 exposures to a product on average before someone then took action, on average. Does anybody know what it is today, meaning as of last year? 16. 16 exposures on average before someone responds. So today, it's really hard to succeed if you're in a situation where you're trying to market, and what are you going to compare to? Today, people have gigantic budgets. That's why you've seen all these small businesses disappear and more big businesses show up. And how are you supposed to compete with that? The answer is you can, but you have to use a totally different tack. You can't use traditional advertising. You're going to have to learn to master what I teach, which is how do you become the expert in the field so that people come to you because they want to understand what you know about it. Where people seek you out, you don't advertise for them. Because whatever advertising you have, if you're a small business, it's going to be very hard for you to compete with that. And that is for every kind of product you can imagine today, isn't it true? So a lot of people get down and out. It's just because they don't understand. It is so easy in the world we live in today to develop a level of expertise where your marketing is not marketing, it's adding value. If there's one way to become wealthy in business, there's only one way to stay wealthy. Find a way to do more for others than who? Than who? Than anyone else. If you find a way to add more value than anyone else in your category, you will completely dominate that marketplace. And if you keep doing it and you keep innovating and you keep growing, you can go from a tiny little business where everyone else dominated you to where you're the dominant force. And I'm only one example of that. And I can show anyone how to do that process, but you're going to have to commit yourself to the study of it.